Okay.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Sierra Bazell, and I have a special guest with me today, and she's going to tell you a little bit about herself and her company. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. Shea James with Back to Natural. Back to Natural is a hair salon dedicated to natural hair care. And really, our greater mission is empowering our clients through positive words and images, of which healthy self-image is a big part.
Oh, awesome. That's wonderful. And Shay, where is your salon located?
I'm in Houston, Texas, close to the historic Third Ward area,
Mhm.
and I've been a stylist for around 20 years.
Wow, that's awesome. How did you get started with doing natural hair?
Well, it started really from my own personal need.
Mhm.
You know, like I grew my hair out in high school, and at that time, like natural hair was not the thing to do at all. Like there was like hardly any books, hardly any resources. You know, it was like that old like trial and error, trying to see what works.
Mhm.
Then as it gained more traction, you know, there was more people doing braids and locks, but it was just kind of like either spectrum, you know.
Mhm.
You were either wearing braids or you were wearing locks, and not a lot of loose natural hair, no twist outs,
Mhm.
none of that. So back then, like I had a burning desire to learn more.
Mhm.
And then as I went along in my journey, it's like I had this I don't know what you could say, this vision,
Mhm.
you know, that came to me.
Mhm.
It was like I heard this voice. It said, I was in my senior year of college,
Mhm.
and this voice said, quit school and do hair. And so I did.
Wow.
Yeah, and then it was a few more, you know, steps before that, but basically I went to cosmetology school, got licensed, and then I opened my first shop. So ever since then, it's just been like a really amazing journey.
Mhm.
I've learned a lot. I've taught some people along the way, and it keeps evolving.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah, because I think I went natural maybe 10 years ago, started off as a loose natural, and there was some information. A lot of YouTubers were doing
Yep.
stuff, but I had no idea what to do. I eventually ended up getting frustrated and getting locks. So um, that's where that's where I went. I'm not a very patient person. As soon as I get frustrated, it's either one extreme or the other.
Or the
That's how I
other.
did my big chop too. I was like, up too many textures. We just gonna cut it off. So, so that was me.
Yeah, exactly. When I first um you know, started my journey, I had a perm and I just got frustrated one day and I was like, off with this hair.
Hmm.
I'm done. And then I just grew it out. So,
Wow.
but oh, I have to say too,
Hmm.
I'm so thankful for YouTube,
Hmm.
because I feel like with the explosion of all the YouTube videos,
Hmm.
that kind of normalized the acceptance and the presence of natural hair, because the biggest barrier to a lot of people doing it was they didn't understand how to take care of it. They may not have the funds to go to a stylist, or they may not be in an area where they had like qualified natural hair stylists. So
Hmm.
having access to the information, and then knowing what kind of products to use for their hair, or even that they could make themselves, has been like fantastic for natural hair.
Yes, awesome. I'm so thankful for these people because I don't know how to do hair. And when you are younger, first getting out of college, didn't have a lot of money, trying to keep my hair up, it was definitely a challenge. But I
Challenge.
was thankful to be able to have these people to kind of help me out. So yes, I'm very thankful for them as well. Can you tell us a little bit why natural hair care is important?
Well, in my opinion, natural hair is important because it helps to like underscore a lot of good foundational things for our community, not just on a personal level, but for the community as a whole. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like natural hair enhances intimacy, also wellness.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my clients who grew their hair out from a perm, once they went natural, it's like they gave themselves permission to live healthier lives. They started like exercising, then came the diet, then as women, once you start going on that journey, usually if your kids have a perm, then they'll be natural as well.
Mm-hmm.
And intimacy, like luckily for me, I would say all my adulthood I've been natural. So
Mm-hmm.
with dating and all that, that's all I've ever known. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I never went through that phase of, oh no, you can't touch my hair because my roots are growing out, or
Mm-hmm.
oh, I'm about to get a perm, oh, I sweat my hair. When I found like when I was dating, like because my hair was accepted, it
Mm-hmm.
was just not a barrier. It'd be like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
I'll help you take your braids down, or, oh, it's fine,
Mm-hmm.
your roots are there all the time anyway. So, and I find like a lot of times when women like have a perm, or they mainly like rely on other forms of like straight hairstyling, like whether it be um, perms or weave or press or anything that alters the natural texture, there is like this kind of invisible burden that we carry, and
Mm-hmm.
you're not even like aware of it until
Mm-hmm.
you're not doing it anymore. So yeah, you don't think anymore about, oh, I have to time when I can do certain things.
Mm-hmm.
You're at the grocery store and the rain starts falling. You just go to your car. It's not
Yes.
even a second thought. Whereas if I'm at the grocery store, I see a lot of women like huddled under the,
Mm-hmm. Uh-oh.
you know, into
Mm-hmm.
that process. Even if they're getting stuff like color, they have to time it,
Mm-hmm.
specifically with when they're getting their chemical relaxers. And it's just like a lot of like barriers, they can't swim because they're scared of messing up their hair. Everything is just like revolving around that. And also it impedes intimacy between couples,
Mm-hmm.
because like, I mean, my partner could just run his hands through my hair, like just whenever, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not a special occasion, or I don't have to wait till next week till I see my stylist. So
Right.
I think it's really great. Yeah.
Mm, awesome. That's really good that you brought up that invisible barrier because we
Mhm.
really don't realize that it's there, and it is. I
Mhm.
remember when I was a loose natural, I would often get my hair. I probably got my hair straightened only a few times a year because I really didn't like it. Because every time I did, it would rain, and then I would find myself having to wrap my hair, put a bag on, and or get an umbrella, and I was like, this is too much. I can't deal.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And you
yeah,
don't think about it if you're doing it all the time, but if it's not your usual routine, it's like, oh, whoa, I have to
yeah.
change up the way I'm like going through life right now.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. That's definitely interesting. So there's like a psychological thing going on with us and this hair. Like, oh, my hair is straight. I can't do this and I can't do that. Let me not get in the water. Let me watch what I do in the shower. It affects every part of your life. That's really good. What
Yeah,
are
this is true. Oh, go ahead. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. What are some common myths about natural hair that you have heard as a stylist?
Well, some common myths are that it's like hard to take care of,
Mhm,
that it doesn't grow,
mhm,
that it's has to be dry, different things like that. And first of all, like there are several parameters to what creates like healthy hair.
mhm,
Just like anything, whether chemical or natural, like you have to invest the time into taking care of your hair and getting like willing, I guess, being willing to understand your own hair.
mhm,
I feel like some women feel like is natural hair is difficult, because when they had a perm, they didn't have an experience with caring for their hair. Like they'd be at the salon every week or every other week,
Mhm.
and they would be in the cycle. They wouldn't even know what products are being used on their hair.
Mhm.
So like comparing like natural to the chemical is like apples and oranges. For
Mhm.
one, your texture is altered and you don't care for it at all. So anything, there's a learning curve when
Mhm.
you go natural, because now you're switching from being, dependent on someone
Mhm.
to, being self-reliant. And I feel like once you get over that hump, even when some of my clients are like transitioning from like relaxer to natural,
Mhm.
like that first year, it takes about a year for the hair to grow all the way out.
Mhm.
You have those two textures. Usually I tell my clients the easiest way is to like just use extensions,
Mhm.
because some people are not going to like have the patience to sit there and like go through the two different textures and
Mhm.
navigate that. So it's like, okay, just grow it out with the extension. Once that's trimmed off, you'll find your own hair like way easier to manage. You have one texture to deal with, and it's more seamless. Yeah.
Mm. Wow, that's really good advice, and I wish someone had told me because, like I said, I just got completely and utterly fed up. It was just like, I'm cutting it all off. I can't deal. And my husband was like, "What did you do?"
It's like, oh, babe, what happened?
Yes, but I did ask him before, and I don't think he believed me because I was like, I can't deal with this anymore. I'm going to cut it off. And he was like, no, you're not. Because at that time, I had maybe 12 or 14 inches of hair. So he
Oh,
was
yeah, that's
like,
a big deal.
right. He was like, you're not going to do it. And I did. And yeah.
Yeah, like, I'm gonna show you, huh?
Yes. And then after I did it, I was standing there like, oh my God, what
What
did
did
I
I
just do? Yes.
do?
That was not the smartest thing to do. So
That
please listen. You can use extensions to grow your hair out.
absolutely. I highly recommend it. I mean, I'm not one of those like natural hairstylists. It's like, oh, you are not being real if you use extensions. I'm all about what makes your journey like more manageable,
Mhm.
easier. And then in this day and time when everybody is like pressed for time and so many things, knocking at your door, that, you have to attend to,
Mhm.
whatever can streamline the process, whatever method like buys you more time in your schedule and helps you feel better about yourself, I'm all for it.
Awesome. That's really good. Most stylists are like, no, don't do that. You're not natural if you're not, all of that. So thank you for saying that. What are some ways that people can care for their hair at home? So as a stylist, what do you tell your clients when maybe they can't get in to see you as often as possible, or something happens and they just can't come anymore? So what would you say to a person who has to take care of their own hair?
Well, the number one thing I'm about is cleanliness,
Mhm.
keeping your scalp clean and healthy. Once you keep your scalp clean and healthy, like that's the foundation for all, great hair,
Mhm.
if someone's like doing their hair at home, let's say if they have locks,
Mhm.
I recommend that they shampoo it and condition it on a certain schedule. With loose natural, it's the same thing. The only difference is like, especially for my clients with a lot of hair or
Mhm.
super thick hair, there's like a certain way, like I usually advise that they like shampoo, detangle
Mhm.
to minimize mechanical damage, and mechanical damage is like any kind of combing, detangling, all of that stuff. Usually for those clients, I usually advise like they section their hair
Mhm.
into like maybe 4 or 6 like big braids or twists or
Mhm.
anything like that to secure their ends. And then once that's secure, like you leave the roots loose, and then you get in there and you detangle before you start shampooing.
Mhm.
You section it and then wash it with the sections in there. Now, right before, right after the shampoo, you're gonna do your conditioning. Like if it's a deep condition, you could put it in with the section still in there. Right
Mm-hmm.
before you rinse it out, then you undo your plaits, and then you rinse down the shaft. And so doing it in that way, I find like minimizes tangling, minimizes frustration. And then for the ones who are purists and don't want to use like a blow dryer, that's fine. They can like just kind of do like a final little comb through each section and stretch it, which is where they rebraid it and just let it dry overnight or naturally. Or some people can put their dryer on a low setting and just blow the water out. And sometimes I like that because if it's cold or sometimes the humidity change, sometimes it can help like seal the cuticle,
Mm-hmm.
and then their hair dries with a lot less frizz and, fuss. Yeah.
Awesome. Those are really good tips. Now, most people that become naturals, especially loose naturals, we tend to become product junkies. So
Yes.
we have like 40 or 50 different bottles of stuff, and we're like, oh, well, I use this one once a month, and I use this one every other week, and I use this one, and I have to mix this with that. So what products that are out now are good for your natural hair, or how can you minimize all of these products? Help us out.
Okay. Well, well, that's a really good question because like sometimes I joke about that. I love YouTube, but the flip side of it is, now everybody can get on and everybody can be an expert.
Mm-hmm.
And it's fine to know things that work for your hair, but what a lot of times people never really tell their viewers is that this doesn't work for all hair types. This just works for my hair. There's some hair that's like really like super fine
Mm-hmm.
and like very cottony. Like that hair tends to need like a lot more protein in it. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of times it's really like dry and brittle and stuff like that. And the reason why is sometimes there are less cuticle layers, and the cuticles are like little shingles on your hair, but they seal in the moisture and protect the inner protein layer
Mm-hmm.
that has the sulfur bonds, the keratin bonds, and like the hydrogen bonds. And
Mm-hmm.
so what happens is because they have less, the little cuticles sometimes break off. And when they are, they leave like almost little holes in your shaft.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens is a lot of times clients like that they need, and this set tends to like have the most product junky, you know,
Uh-huh.
fixations because they're fixated on having a certain curl pattern or a certain type of hair, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all well and good, whatever makes you happy. But a lot of times what people don't realize is um, if your hair is not protein balanced, if there's too many broken protein layers, or the little cuticles have too many holes in them from mechanical damage or other whatever product damage, maybe they use so much alcohol-based products and it dries it out,
Mm-hmm.
then it can create like a moisture issue. So the first thing I always suggest with clients like that, um, you don't even have to go to like a commercial product. You could start with simple stuff that's in your kitchen.
Mm-hmm.
Mayonnaise is great, you know, and that has both the protein of the egg, it
Mm-hmm.
has milk protein, and it has water. It's like an emulsion. You
Mm-hmm.
shampoo, condition. You could put it on and let it do a heat treatment,
Mm-hmm.
sit under the dryer. Or if you don't really feel like doing that, you can put it on overnight, put a baggie on it,
Mm-hmm.
and then in the morning you rinse it out. Then you seal. When I said seal, water-based products, they
Mm-hmm.
add the moisture in, but to seal it in, you need something that's oil-based, and
Mm-hmm.
that coats the strand and that helps to seal in the moisture. So once you add in the protein and the water element, you seal it in, and then usually my clients that have issues with being frizzy, breaking stuff like that after they get their protein balance, their curl springs back to life. It's springy. They have those nice little ringlets, or it's like soft and moisturized. So that's some of the things. Even using milk protein, you could do like um, put some milk on there. Of course, whole milk,
Mhm.
like as a protein treatment.
Mhm.
Then you would go back in and seal it after you rinse all that out, and that helps to seal in the cuticle layer. Um, One of my favorite oils is like the wild growth hair oil,
Mhm.
and I like it because it has like a lot of natural oils. There's no mineral oil in it, and all of those things like absorb into your scalp, and also provide some additional benefit than just sitting up there. Those are all good. Commercial products, I like Care.
Mhm.
Now some for the purists, they might not like those because they have like some, silicones and stuff like that.
Mhm.
If you're looking for something that doesn't have silicone, Arbonne has like natural hair products as well.
Mhm.
Um, and theirs has like, less of those commercial type surfactants and stuff like that. But beside all that, if you didn't want to use that, you can also get away with doing just like a Castile soap,
Mhm.
um, you know, shampoo, and
Mhm.
then you could add like maybe a teaspoon of olive oil into it,
Mhm.
and then rinse your hair through and shampoo it with that. Pre-wash it with
Mhm.
water, just by rinsing the water through and getting off a bunch of excess oils. Then you go through with your Castile natural based shampoo. And
Mhm.
some people can get creative and add like a herbal mixture to it, and
Mhm.
then shampoo it through like that as well. The only precaution I would say is if you have like commercial color,
Mhm.
you have to be careful because sometimes um, color-based shampoo formulations are formulated usually to have like a slightly higher pH,
Mhm.
which doesn't open up the cuticles as much, and so your color stays more vibrant. So, you just have to be aware of like your particular hair and what its particular needs are. Yeah. But
Oh,
those are just two things.
well, that was really good. That's a lot of information. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Now, I see a lot of mothers that come into these mom groups that we
Mhm.
are in, and they will say, "Oh, my baby is 6 months old and her hair is falling out. What can I do to help her grow her hair?" So, what advice would you give to these mothers and fathers, or maybe their guardians that are raising these babies? What do you do to help your baby's hair growth?
Well, okay, so that's like a multi-step, I guess, solution, I guess.
Mhm.
Because like, of course, in the first year of life, like, the baby's nutritional needs, they have one set of nutritional needs, and as they
Mhm.
get older, they have another set.
Mhm.
Here can indicate like internal processes that are going on.
Mhm.
And a lot of times when for my clients, like their hair isn't doing like certain particular things that they'd like it to do, I
Mhm.
always say, okay, what's your nutrition like?
Mhm.
What's the baby's diet like? What are they eating?
Mhm.
A lot of babies are really picky, or if their parents are like super busy, they
Mhm.
only have time to feed them fast food. Here goes a McDonald's Happy Meal. Here goes a this. Here goes a that. Or even if they're breastfed and the mom's diet isn't really particularly healthy, or they're highly stressed,
Mhm.
all of those hormones and stress factors are going to be transferred through the milk as well.
Mhm.
So like first of all, like you have to look internal. Then
Mhm.
after you're like, okay, that's on par, then let's look at what's going on externally. you know
Mhm.
um Number one that I see a lot is mechanical damage. You pulling that baby's hair too tight. The hair's too tight. The scalp, sometimes suffers from like traction alopecia. And if those follicles are dead, and let me backtrack for a second. So I think a big part of why some of that happens is people are so obsessed with edges,
Mm-hmm.
Um, one of the pros and cons of this new natural movement is everybody's uh, um, obsessed with edges, and you have to have these perfect edges and they have to lay a certain way. And, you know, I'm just
Mm-hmm.
like, it's a baby, let their hair grow. If they have little fuzz, that's fine. You don't have to slick it to death. You could even do that just by tying like a edge paper or something around it.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to lay it down, not slick everything, pull it, everything, I feel like people need to find a happy medium with something that will give them the time that they want in their schedule,
Mm-hmm.
and also to give that kids here a chance to breathe. So if you have like the braids, the extension braids, and you could take it down and do like a little two-strand twist. You can also, do little pin-ups that don't pull everything back. Maybe have it almost in like a little mohawk. You have to move that hair around. And
Mm-hmm.
then you also have to, find like that happy medium between like looking at their activities, looking at how much time you want to spend, and then also looking at like maybe the budget.
Mm-hmm.
So finding a happy medium between all those three. But for me, number one is internal, check their diet. Two, external, um, make sure there's no mechanical damage. Also, three, to add on to that, is make sure that scalp is getting clean on a regular basis.
Mm-hmm.
You could even do stuff once you know you've been cleaning that, doing the proper shampoos, minimizing mechanical damage. Scalp massages are great.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that circulates the blood up there and brings more circulation to the roots is going to help it to grow a lot more. You know, Too much oil can also clog up your follicles. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they're like caking that baby scalp in grease. And,
Mm-hmm.
we produce like a natural amount of oils on our scalp.
Mm-hmm.
So unless like you're just like suffering from some kind of scalp like imbalance or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
most people don't need to oil their hair every day, but you find people who are oiling their hair every day. And so at most once a week, maybe twice, you know, if needed. But sometimes less is more. And
Mm-hmm.
people feel like, let me do more, more, more. Since this worked a little bit, let me triple it or quadruple it or whatever. So less is more. Find a routine that works for you. You could stick to it, and then make sure you're doing it consistently. Consistency is key. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so different routines work for different people. So like maybe you'll find in the winter your schedule's not as hectic. You could do more like hands-on things. So Afro puffs, or something I do with my daughter sometimes is when I first wash her hair, because she has a lot of hair.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so when I first shampoo it, then I would like put it in big pots and then pin that into something else.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the days went on, I would like, take a few down, do that hair into something a little different. So maybe I had the braids, then I would like take the hair down after like a week, maybe retwist the top and pin it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Or then maybe by close to wash day, I might take them down and now she has crinkly, like a crinkly twist out or something. And
Mm-hmm.
so like that's how you can get different looks that transition as your style wears.
Mm-hmm.
And it will give you some variety, and the kids will love it. They'll feel confident, and you're not having to go through this uncomfortable cycle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Thank you so much for that advice. That's really
Mhm.
good advice. I have two daughters and not a lot of time. So
Oh, bless you.
thank you. Yes. Thank you. Are there any other tips that you would like to give to us or anything that you would like to say?
Yes. Well, something I think is really cool. Like I said, I love now that there is this I would say grand awakening, that's happening in the community, and like people are exhibiting a lot more pride and are excited to be natural and excited about like all the things that come along with that. I was making this joke the other day because I was like listening to a pretty well-known writer,
Mhm.
and basically it was talking about how we're always looking for ways to belong in the society. And
Mhm.
so, like, I don't know, I just kind of had this eureka moment, and I was talking with one of my clients, and I said, like going natural basically like checks all those boxes.
Mhm.
It gives you community, you're tied in, it's that
Mhm.
self-love aspect, there's that growth aspect. And I was joking with some of my clients. I was like, do you realize the economic impact that would happen if not only if every Black woman in America went natural, but if every Black woman in America grew locks? Like, you would need products,
Yeah.
you would need extensions, you
Mhm.
would need to spend time taking your hair down, and it would trickle down to the family because most women who are natural, their kids are natural, and
Mhm.
then their husbands, also like um, are also embracing that lifestyle. So
Mhm.
it by the woman, you know, um, growing her hair a certain way, it changes the trajectory of her family. And I was just thinking, we often talk about like diversity and having a seat at the table, economic inclusion, all of those things. I was like, Locks does all of that.
Mhm.
The money would not be flowing out the community; it'd be in the community.
Mhm.
I was like, it'd almost be like a silent revolution. The
Yeah.
revolution will not be televised.
Absolutely. Well, I'm definitely team locks. Go locks.
Hello, hello. Yeah.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the things I think about, and how like in popular media, like often, as a people, we are misrepresented.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's kind of time we control our narrative
Mhm.
and take back the reins to a certain extent.
Mhm.
And I feel like just something as simple as hair can change the trajectory of a family or even community. And
Mhm.
so, like, even though I'm a stylist by trade, but I feel like my larger mission is not just hair, but transformational empowerment and helping to um, enhance the positive ways in which we look at ourselves.
Mhm.
So re-imaging, if you will, yeah,
Mhm.
of us through.
Wow. Wow, that's wonderful. And hair can definitely do that. We saw it in the 70s,
Oh
and
yeah.
I think that we could definitely change some things by the way that we do our hair and by the images that we put out there. So that is wonderful. Well, thank you so much for being on my show today. And how can we reach you? If anybody wants to become a client or get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
You can check me out on my website, www.backtonaturel, and that's BACKTONATUREL.com,
Mhm.
or my Instagram is backtonaturel1, and that's BACK and TONATUREL and the number one.
Awesome. Thank you so much. See you guys next time.
Oh,
Bye-bye.
okay, thanks for having me. Have a great day.
Bye. You too.